Copenhagen is one of my favorite games. I said that recently in my review of Helsinki, which I thought wasn't nearly as exciting. And so at Gen Con 2023, I saw that they had Copenhagen Roll and Write, so I knew I had to try it. I like Copenhagen. I also like the city, by the way. I was there in the 1990s, really loved it. And I like the game called Copenhagen, and I like Roll and Write games. It seemed like I had to try it. So you're going to have a bunch of rule books here. You're going to have two different kinds of pads. One, you're going to yank one, a sheet of paper. You're going to give one to each player. And another one goes in the middle of the table. As you can see, I'm almost like running out of these, but that's okay. I can make copies. Now, that's it. Like many roll and write games, setup is pretty quick. You just need to give everybody a writing implements. And then we have these dice. So the idea, as in Copenhagen, is going to be that we're going to build a facade of a building, but we're going to roll and write about it. So the active player will roll dice, and then the active player will have to, and there are a lot of little effects that you can use if you have earned them, but the general idea is that you will select a color, and white is wild. So for example, I decide that I go with purple, and suppose these are the dice that are left behind. So I'm gonna write something on my pad, and we'll see what that is. The other players, the non-active players, can also choose one of the dice and mark a space in the corresponding track. Green for green, red for red, and so on and so forth. And if you look up close, by doing that, we are unlocking spaces, locking abilities. The one with the plus means if I have unlocked it by writing on it, it means that when it's my time to be the active player, I can then cross out the one at the bottom to indicate that I used that ability, and that would count as an extra blue or as an extra purple or as an extra red. If I unlocked an ability with a star by placing a cross on it, then I can use it by crossing it out, and I can use the ability affiliated with that one. For example, here I can reroll a die, and here I can switch all the dice of one color for another color. Things like that. But let's go back to the active player. The active player, remember I selected 3 purple in this example, will actually get to draw a game piece on their facade. You start from the top, you want to go up, and you need to place things, of course, following the grid. They have to rest on something. They can't float into thin air. But what can you build with the dice that you selected? You look at this player right here, the one that went in the middle of the table, that is in the middle of the table, and you have some pieces that can be built infinitely. So, for example, with 3 purple, I can build this piece. I can also build a smaller one, so this one. And I can draw it here or here, for example. Suppose that I had the 3 yellow in this example. Yeah, 3 yellows. Then I could build this one or this one from the infinite section. There are also cases, especially when you start using also some of the abilities to make bigger sets, in which you will be able to unlock bigger pieces. And so, for example, with 4 yellow, I could build either of them. Now, these ones are from the limited section. So the first time somebody builds it, you cross it out, and then the next one is crossed. And now other people cannot play it, cannot build it anymore. Or can they? Unless they use an ability that allows them to do so. Now, when you're building your piece, something super tricky. Inside the piece that you just built, you don't just draw it. Yeah, you do draw it. But then for each square, inside each square, say you will draw a circle, and in one of them, in each piece, you will draw an X. So after a while that you build, it will look like that, X's and things. Unless you use the ability that lets you build a piece without an X. But these X's are simply annoying, and they're meant precisely to give you an extra challenge as you build your things. You will score points for completing rows and columns. If I complete a row, I'll score 2 points if there are no X's in that one, and 1 point if there are. When I complete a column, it's 4 points if there are no X's in it, and 2 points if there are. You also score points by completing these tracks, and these are the main ways in which you complete things. When you complete a row or a column, you also get bonuses such as marking extra boxes or getting to place a little tiny square without a X in it. So there are a couple of extra other little things, secondary cases, but the general idea is still that the player rolls and chooses and draws. The other players get to mark boxes on this thing that will unlock all of these other things. You play until somebody reaches 12 points, and that triggers the end of the game. You complete the round. The player with the highest score wins the game. So, this is a very simple, very light game of Copenhagen. I don't know that it really captures the essence of the original. It really feels more like a variant than a translation. But I find it to be enjoyable as a simple filler and one that you can just set up so easily and so quickly. It travels very well. Actually, I brought a couple of sheets with me during a family trip and the dice, and that's it. We have a full game that we play with the family. I also played it at game night with my mathematician friends, and they liked it also. So you see that it goes all... It really covers the whole gamut, because my family, it's made mainly of casual gamers, especially the wife, and my mathematician friends, no, they're pretty hardcore, but they still enjoyed it. So, and at Roll and Write games, it has all the fun stuff, the fun of writing on things. So many roll and write games, so they may be sequential, but they give you something to do when it's not your turn. This reminds me of a couple of other roll and writes. Twix, for example, does something similar. And it's, what can I say? It's light and it's simple and it works and flows very well because the core engine is very nice. But then you have these other abilities, and so, say, when you can choose which one to mark, then I want to choose, well, I'm building up to a certain ability, or am I building up to a certain score? When it is time to use a certain ability or the extra die. A lot of interesting things can happen, and sometimes the combos can be quite elaborate. I'm doing this, I'm using that ability, which allows me to complete that, I'm getting something else, which triggers something else. They can be quite elaborate and also satisfying, I must say, for a game that ultimately is so simple and so intuitive, and also it's a variant of the idea of laying tiles, which I like very much. It's probably one of my favorite mechanics. So Copenhagen is very light, very simple, very intuitive, sets up instantaneously, plays well, and it's fun. I got nothing bad to say about it other than I'll probably soon have to make some photocopies because I think I'll soon run out of sheets of papers, which doesn't happen very often with the Roll and Write games that I own, but it's going to happen with Copenhagen.